we have a public affairs analyst, Mr. Sumbo Badejoko.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's good to have you.
Good morning, Funbi. Good morning, Florence. Good morning, our viewers.
56 days after the abduction of the pupils and teachers, eventually, it was victory at last for your state and Nigeria. Let's walk through the moments first, the 56 days, and of course, 8 weeks after, what changed?
Walking through the moments, I think the right way to start will be to pay a kind of last respect to those who paid the supreme price in the course of the operation, because not much is being said about them. The sensation was just too overwhelming, and nobody's talking about the fact that a Lieutenant Felix Isaac died in the operation. His name was echoing because he's the most senior officers. A few hunters also lost their life. Some Amotekun guys were wounded. One is still in the hospital as we speak. And these are some of the casualties that were recorded in the operation. Of course, the teacher that was shot while they were attempting to kidnap, and the one that was also beheaded. We cannot forget all these people just like that. Because yes, we are happy that the remaining victims were all rescued alive, unscratched. That is the development, and it is a rescue operation.
Indeed, it was a rescue operation, but
yes.
I think we should also analyze the situation, the rescue operation itself. We saw videos, we've seen a lot of videos circulating. The Nigerian army has come out to make statements, and of course our heart goes out to the family, loved ones, and of course Nigeria as a whole. The fallen hero, the lieutenant that died during the rescue mission, we really commiserate with his family members and of course the Nigerian Armed Forces. But looking at how the operation played out, some people are of the opinion that it took too long. We saw a lot of, during the rescue operation, hundreds, I would say hundreds of soldiers headed towards the national park to rescue these victims. Do you think it took too long, for the operation to have been carried out, or it happened at the exact time it was supposed to have been carried out?
I've been privileged to be here to speak on this same kidnap twice. This will be the third time. And a lot of information out there are coming from ignorance perspective. It happened in the whole of your national park. For the records, that park is bigger than Rwanda. Rwanda is a country. Imagine a scenario where some hostages are held in the heart of Rwanda. How many soldiers do you think would be deployed to rescue them, not knowing the exact location? How long do you think it will take for them moving at a point in vehicles? They have to now come down. They even move inside rivers. It was a difficult terrain, and they had to be tracking using radar and all manner of surveillances. And of course, some native intelligence supplied by local hunters. Kudos to them too, because the operation wouldn't have been successful without their input as well. So those who are speaking, they are looking at it as Oyo State being a state in Nigeria and Orire being just a local government. What they do not know is that forest transcends about 7 local governments across 3 states.
Talking of the old Oyo National Park, how big it is. Yes, we are talking about the rescue, but moving forward, how should we start talking about securing that park? Of course, we do not want a repeat of what has happened. We do not pray to see a repeat of that. But of course, we also have to talk about how we will guard. How do you think, what steps, what measures do you think the state government should start putting in place to guard the park against having terrorists using that park as a hideout?
Well, I'm not the military spokesman and I'm not the government spokesperson, but I can say authoritatively here that that is already in the pipeline. A military base has been designated for that forest, for especially the portion in Oriri local government. The personnel are there, and if I'm not mistaken, the state government had already mobilized mattresses and some other welfare items that will make them comfortable. What they now need to do, which will not happen overnight, is development of structures and infrastructure for the personnel to now use. Now, the base is a welcome development. There are other things that I believe will still be put in place. And one thing is to create an economic activity around the park, within the park and around it. It has huge tourist potential. We need to look at the tourism aspect, how that can be converted for tourism purpose. The Maasai Park in Kenya is used for that. And it's about the same size, if not even bigger than the Maasai Park, because Kenya is a smaller country than Nigeria. Now, that is one thing that the government should now be looking. The federal government may be too occupied because there are so many other things that they have to choose. But the state government can, since it's domicile, work with our state government and see how they collaborate to have that park being designated for tourism. Then outside of the park, the terrain that now belongs to the government have full control over, because all parks are under the control of the federal government. And that's part of the problem that really led to the...
talking about parks being under the control of the federal government, you would also agree that state governments also have a lot to do about it. Because when issues like this happen, it becomes a serious headache for the state government.
I'm telling you why it appears as if state governments are kind of incapacitated, and why these criminals are taking advantage of that confusion in the law, because the land is domiciled in the office of the governor. But when it becomes a park, when there are resources underneath, that comes now under the jurisdiction of the federal government. So that's a conflict on its own. And these are what the criminals now, or the bandits, this was even terrorists, because it's the Ansaru group that have now been identified as the ones behind. An Ansaru group is an affiliate of the Al-Qaeda terrorist organization. That's the number one in the world. So, even though Osama bin Laden had been killed, they've splitted and are now operating in other pockets of locations globally. And unfortunately, wherever you find problems in a particular location around the world, you see their fighters volunteering because they know they are not going to lose out. Whatever they get in the environment where they are based becomes their spoils, and they've now developed in Nigeria this idea of kidnapping people for ransom, and they use the ransom money to further sponsor their operations. So that's what we've been having, and that's why it seems that the problem is not going away. But kudos to the government for the change in tactics. I did mention that the last time I was here, that when the curfew was declared, that it signals a change in tactics. And we have seen the result of that. Because you cannot continue to pay ransom. When you do that, you are sponsoring indirectly the terrorism. And it's not going to go away. Because every little person out there with criminal tendencies will begin to get creative. And that's why you see kidnapping even in cities going side by side that of the mass kidnap, which are organized by the terrorist organization. Now, there will be a change in trajectory, because we're only talking about the Oriri rescue. There are other, even before this one was completed, through intelligence, they were able to get the locations of the relatives of those who are holding these hostages, and even made a video to them. If you kill anyone, your own family in our custody will also kill them. That has a way of helping the operation, and those are the tactics that were deployed. And it's a joint venture. For the first time in the history of our fight against insurgency, this is the most coordinated, because all military agencies, including the Navy. I told you, they have to traverse river paths. The Air Force was giving air surveillance. The Army was fully on ground, not just a unit of the Army, but the counterterrorism police were involved. So and of course, I told you, the local hunters, the vigilante volunteers, they were all involved. Amotekun was not left out. Amotekun only drew back when it became a full-fledged military operation. But they were still monitoring from the rear. You understand? They were able to identify the supply chain. I told you, even from the video, you can tell yourself that this is not a territory that can easily be secured or tracked, especially when they don't have any tracking device on that can be used to pin their exact location. It was the area surveillance that was relied heavily on. But they got there, but navigating to the exact path undetected, because earlier detection by the terrorists will signal threats and they may migrate to another place again where they have to start searching all over. For at a point, the forces will have to go, traveling like 3 kilometers from one of the units. They have to turn back and follow another route, because the one they were following initially was not leading to anywhere. So that's why, and I expect people to review the situation on their own, learn and see how complex Nigeria is, how big this country is. A lot of people just say all manner of things on social media from the point of ignorance. And they think the government is lying to them. Yes, they've lied a lot. And the public trust is not there for now. But once in a while, there's what is called benefit of the doubt. Be given it. If not for the sake of any other person, but for the sake of those who are risking their life to go into that place. You cannot do it. You understand? And you do not expect the commander-in-chief, the president, to be the one leading in the forest. We are not in a military. Even in military regime, we do not have that. Gowon was in Lagos throughout the Civil War. It wasn't in the battlefield, but he took the glory for winning and uniting the country. Lincoln did not fight in the U.S. Civil War. He was there in Washington, monitoring the situation. You understand? But people need to understand that everybody has responsibility and constitutional role to play. And as citizens, too, it took efforts from some of my colleagues, including myself, to be persuading people that tune down the emotional level. It's not helping them, it's distracting. And those teachers that went on strike, we have to these are things that the terrorists want you to do. We got our own backlashes, but we knew that we were saying the right thing.
So are you saying teachers going on strike at that moment was
what
the
did
wrong
they achieve
call
with? It was a wrong call. We said it. That is what they want you to do. It's a decision born out of emotion.
But apart from the decision being born out of emotion, they are seeing it as a solidarity movement for teachers, for their colleagues. It was just a cry for help. Didn't you see it that way?
You can do that without a strike. You understand? That can be achieved with them mobilizing to the government office, carrying placard, and then a day event is already in the news that they have done something. They're asking, now, do you know the effect of that on the pupils? Becker exams are to be postponed. The strike did not consider those writing WAEC as at that time. Do you understand? So even Chibok own too happened during WAEC time. It's about this period in time. You understand? It was only those in that environment that were affected. It didn't shut the other schools in Borno State. No. And the Borno teachers, we did not hear that they went on strike. These are some things that we know, emotions would make us to take irrational decisions. So that's what's irrational. They have their reasons for doing it, but when people now begin to speak against it, you can't. And I want to really appreciate the governor of Oyo State and the president too, because it was a very tense moment for him. And he did one thing that a leader is supposed to do. He displayed courage. by not, yielding to that emotion that is being thrown out there. Not that he wasn't feeling it. He was under immense pressure, but he did not show it.
All right. Mr. Badeduku, we have a commercial break and we'll be right back. Stay with us.
And the best student in basic digital literacy is Jadin Okoro. Very good. And the best student in kinesthetics is Jamil Lawal. The best student in robotics is Tiara Kolawole.
That's my dad! Hey! That's my dad!
This award goes to the most punctual student of the entire school. And the winner is Lisa Solomon.
Something is telling me that she makes her daughter skip breakfast just to be here. You people could have just asked. I would have been happy to tell you my secret.
Enjoy instant goodness with John Vent's 3-in-1 chocolate. The quickest start to your morning.
All right, welcome back. It's still AM 120 on BCOS television, and we're in conversation with Mr. Sumbo Badejoko discussing the rescue of Oriri abductees. And before we left, we were talking about schools and the teachers.
I mean, commending the state government for how, it did not allow emotion. But beyond that, or still on the state government.
Talking about the governor, not the government.
The governor, yes, and his reaction towards
the courage
the activities,
it put up. You understand?
Please go ahead.
That is commendable. Because that's the way to do it. That is why the military guys and all the security forces that partook in the operation, that force keep urging them on. I knew there was a situation room that was set up specifically for this operation where he monitors, get daily reports on a daily basis. I knew there was a time he had to be induced before he could sleep. These are things that people do not know, but those who can throw insult out there, our leaders don't really, when they are under pressure, you think they don't feel it or they are not human, they are robots. So you can continue to, it doesn't work that way. And that's why the one we were trying to argue about concerning the teachers going on strike. Yes, they were emotional. You understand? But the question remains, what was achieved with the strike? They resumed back before the rescue. So that is what I'm saying, that it will still have, the best thing they could have done is just to go, protest, move out on the streets, lend their voices to the thing, keep praying, encouraging those who are out there on the field. If you are really passionate about it, why don't you invade the forest yourself? At least you have enough number that. So those are things that we say, and of course, some parents too. Of course, your own children is not kidnapped, but you consider, you don't have to allow fear to now be creating more things, because these are people. This operation was planned for more than 2 months, according to information that is now declassified. Some people trying to politicize it that the governor declared in the morning they kidnapped. Those are nonsense. You understand? It was a terrorist operation. You don't plan it within a week. So they couldn't have known that the governor is going to make declaration on that day. So it was just a coincidence. So if the governor has said that, those who advise him to say so are his enemies, and he should sack them now because they were not helping him. They are giving him a bad PR.
But don't you think it was a thought-through statement coming from the government?
I said it is not. You don't play politics with human life. Federal government have been doing this. Governors in the north have been doing it. We have been accusing them, talking that it is wrong. We shouldn't start it here. You understand? The reason why this thing was so tense is because it's the force we have in Southwest, and we don't want it again. And thank God the police have launched an operation, Kosayi, meaning, don't come here, stay away. You understand? So that should now be extended to your state, because we need to prove that there is really Kosayi. And every one of us now, the government should leave politics. Security has nothing to do with politics. It's a governance issue. And that's why when you begin to play, you would end up embarrassing yourself. That is a negative PR for the state government to have said that. It's wrong. And for some other politicians saying the governor was behind it, these are nonsense. With all due respect to them, they are elderly people, they are statesmen, but when our elders make mistakes, we hold it is a responsibility on our part to also let them know. Speaking truth to power. What is wrong, and too wrong can never make it right.
Talking about politics and security, I know this is not a new conversation we've been having. And of course, seeing all that has been playing out in Nigeria in terms of school kidnappings, abductions, and the likes. Now, how do we make sure that we do not keep talking about politics and security, putting them side by side, especially when we start talking of human lives and security and protection of Nigerians?
It is the politicians that are politicizing it. The media can help. That is what I'm doing here. Staying away from the politics side of it and focusing on what it is, security matter. You understand? That is what it is. And it's a governance issue. You understand? It's a governance issue. And what government need to do, what they are doing currently that is good, we commend and encourage to continue. What they are doing wrongly, we speak to it and ask them to stop it. And what they are not doing yet but must do, we speak to it so that they know that, okay, this is a direction that we should follow in the times like this. Yes, Nigeria is going through a phase. Every country that is great today in the world had their own moments. This is our own moment. I'm sure we would have definitely overcome because it's a dark cloud that will fade away. But we shouldn't now forget our identity in the process. You understand? And to those who follow politicians sheepishly, you need to have a brain of your own, a mind of your own. Because they don't love you more than they love themselves. And Nigeria belongs to all of us. Nobody is more Nigerian than the other person. So we should now be thinking patriotism as the way to go. Nationalism as the way to go. And allow politicians to do, in as much as they are not a partisan politician, let them, they will do the way they do, but don't follow them sheepishly, so that you not be misled and you not be an enemy of your own friend in the process. Because they are friends to each other. Despite the fact that they abuse themselves in public, they still marry their children to each other, they still frolic together, they do all manner of things together, outside of government.
Is that not to talk about Nigerians also and our mindset? You know, when we talk about politicians pitching Nigerians against themselves, yet we see these things happening. You know, sometimes we see videos surfacing online where some of these politicians who to the world are opposing parties, but behind closed doors, they are friends.
Yes.
You see videos laughing.
You know, they are now
What's that to speak to the mindset of Nigerians and how we do not, you know, maybe speak to ourselves or live in our reality?
The set of people that are being used are the ones that we have to appeal to. Content creators, social media influencers. Those are the two categories of people that the politicians are using at the moment. So we need to appeal to them that, come, you may think you are making money, but you are helping to destroy the government of the country. You can do your content from elsewhere, but the audience that is giving you the traffic, once that audience is dispersed, no more traffic for you. You need to understand and think deep. You may be enjoying it right now, but it's not going to last forever. Create content on nation building. Create content on good governance. Speak to all of them. They are the same. They are the same. You understand? And that's why I don't follow any of them. But I will not come to any platform and now be pretending or wear the garment of an hypocrite. I'm not going to do that. You understand? And that's why when I find myself in the midst of critics and activists, and you are speaking to government policy that is okay, and they are attacking you, I'm not moved by the attack. Because you cannot expect me so that I will be good in your sight to be calling white pink when it's obviously white. I'm not going to do that. You understand? You may be meeting me for the first time. He knows how blunt I can be if I want to be blunt, and I'm not afraid of anybody. You understand? Because some of us have to decide that, come, We have no other country of our own. I don't have an international passport as I speak. So I don't have any country to run to. I only have one citizenship, Nigerian. You understand? So I'm not going to listen to one fellow that is out there, maybe he's having dual citizenship, or another one that have residency permit of another country, that when it happens today, before evening, is already in another country. You understand? I'm not going to allow that one to pollute my own mind or spoil things for me.
All right, Mr. Badejuko, we have a commercial break, and when we return, we'll talk about the those released from the abductors. We'll be right back. Please stay with us.
And the best student in basic digital literacy is Jadin Okoro. Very good. And the best student in kinesthetics is Jamil Lawal. The best student in robotics is Tiara Kolawole.
That's my girl! Hey! That's my girl!
This award goes to the most punctual student of the entire school. And the winner is Lisa Solomon.
Something is telling me that she makes her daughter skip breakfast just to be here. You people could have just asked. I would have been happy to tell you my secret.
Enjoy instant goodness with John Vent's 3-in-1 chocolate. The quickest start to your morning.
It's giving apple. It's Houston. Chicken Chips apple flavor gum and lollipop. Get yours today. Chicken Chips, full of fun.
It's giving, it's popping. Chupa Chups gum filled lollipop.
All right, welcome back. It's still AM 120 of BCOS Television. And before we left, we're talking about...
We're appealing to the influencers who are causing damage and not building the nation.
I want to talk about the effect, the psychological effect of this incident on the students and the teachers. And I want us to also talk about the students that were left behind, their pupils, because everybody has been talking about rehabilitation for those that were abducted. But it's like we are leaving out those children that are in the community. I want us to talk about that. What should we do for them too? What are the things that are in place for those people that were left behind, which is a good thing?
Let's start with the victims.
Okay.
You know, though while the operation was going on, unknown to many, some things are being done to prevent that from happening. Relief were getting to them, courtesy of the government. They allow some channels.
And I think we should let this be known also, because so many people have come out to talk about analyzing videos. A few days ago, we saw I think 2 weeks ago, release of those abducted in Ekiti State. That was in April. We saw how...
I saw that.
How they looked. You know, their physical state was not good at all. And it was taken side by side with those released from the Oriri abduction. And people were saying, were these people really kidnapped? And I think we should talk about how relief items was passed through to them, and of course by the state government to make sure they were also in good condition.
The details of how.
Of course, we cannot go into the details, but it's also important, for people to understand and to note that the state government also, of course, had it in mind to cater for their well-being, for their welfare while they were in captivity.
Each of the operations are not the same. That of Ekiti was just a random thing. This is a full-fledged terrorist attack. You understand? And that's why government have to mobilize every asset available at their disposal, and was heavily coordinated centrally. And they knew, because this is the first time toddlers will be kidnapped. It was strategic on the part of the terrorists. And in fact, elders that were kidnapped specifically because they know they will be needing people to babysit them. And that was the role they played throughout. The woman will still tell her story, the little she can. You understand? She may decide to write a book in future. Someone may decide to write it for her and be published because the story will be told. She has to tell her story, but not now. So the channels were created deliberately. It was meant to ensure that the welfare of those hostages is taken care of. 2, to distract the terrorists so that they would not focus on the element of surprise will not be detected in the rescue attempt. Let's leave it at that. Now, to the psyche. That was meant to prevent what is called post-traumatic stress disorder. And that's why when they rescued them, the first point of call was the hospital. They have to be examined physically, clinically. They will still do some psychological examination for them to understand their state of mind. You understand? Especially those teenage and the adults among them. But for the toddlers, they have the highest recovery rates. To them, they don't even understand what had happened. You understand? We would have, of course, teachers were with the ones with them. They would have been giving them some playway, just to help their psyche while still in that captivity. You understand? The baby was being attended to. Someone was backing and doing all of that. So that was part of the operation. And I did say the last time that it was an hostage situation. And that was why I had to give you an analogy. That imagine some people were kidnapped and put in the center of Rwanda, the whole country. Because most people don't know that the forest is bigger than Rwanda. You understand? And that's a country of about, I think, 3 million population. Now, imagine, that's why I ask people to imagine that from the beginning. And now, also imagine how personnel that is not up to 10,000 will go into a place that can accommodate 10 million people conveniently and now go and rescue 56 people. I mean, 44 people. You understand? It's not going to be that easy, especially in a forest without infrastructure that could enhance surveillance. They have to be relying on the ones they will pick this. They create makeshift drone station that was changing location. What they did was to first map the entire area. Okay, let's comb this place. Then once they are done with that, they move to another portion. That was why it took 56 days. For those who do not know, who were just listening to the politicians who are playing their own game, they saw an opportunity in the whole thing to bring down the government and come up. That was what they saw, and not really caring about the thing. Like the one that visited your state to come and meet the governor and granted an interview, say all manner of things. He has not spoken on the rescue. That is to tell you the caliber of people that people are following, to tell you what is going on in their brain and the kind of person they are. You understand? He's not spoken on the rescue till now. And he came like someone that is really concerned, showing sympathy. And you understand what I'm saying? That is people for you. That's politicians. And that's why Nigerians should know that we are on our own. These politicians are ruling class together. They don't care about us, just like Michael Jackson says. All I want to say is that they don't really care about us. They don't care about us.
But now if you say all you want Nigerians to know is that they are on their own, we are all on our own. But security is in the hands of the government. Should we start, are you proposing we start protecting ourselves?
It is true. If you see something too, say something. You saying something, the government does not have control of your mouth. They can only secure the perimeter. They cannot secure your bedroom. You would see to that. So we say security, that's a larger scale. You understand? In security management, it's what we call a whole society approach, meaning every single person, including if there are robots there, they are all involved. So these are things that we need to know as citizens. We can also be our brothers' keepers. We need to help each other. You understand? And having that at the back of our mind, we cooperate. And on a final note, I want to urge everybody, I'm going to do it. If you see a police army officer today, you encounter them on the road, give them a handshake. If you cannot salute, so that they will be encouraged that yes, people appreciate what they are doing and not just castigate and cast them down all the time.
All right, thank you so much for that insightful conversation. Mr. Sumbo Badejopo, a public affairs analyst, thank you so much for joining us. We'll go on a break.
Before you go on a break, please allow me. Today is my wife's birthday.
No,
I need to wish her a happy birthday.
We say happy birthday to your wife.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back after this break with our second guest. Please stay with us.